Hey guys, so I'd like to share with you something I like to do in order to help clients who have low self-esteem given their neurodivergence, whether they have ADHD or autism, for example. Something that a lot of these people with neurodivergence have is a very low sense of self-concept. And that's because going about the world could be very difficult for them. Doing things that people take for granted, little things day to day. People with neurodivergence could feel like they're out of place. They feel like they're always doing the wrong thing in their lives. And so every single time they make a perceived mistake and they feel like they let down their loved ones, they could feel very down and out on themselves. And that's very understandable because I think we're all wanting to try our best. And I'm someone who has neurodivergence myself. I have attention deficit disorder. And I think just growing up, I really did feel out of place. I feel like I can't do the normal things that people usually do that they don't really have to think twice about. And it's always been like very hard for me. So for me, I felt like I was broken. And it really took me a long time to really unlearn that, to realize that I, as a neurodivergent person, I have my own gifts and I operate in the world in a special kind of way that allows me to see the world from a very different angle, and it could be very much a gift to other people. Well, I feel like people with neurodivergence, they're so used to rejection. So there's something called rejection sensitivity dysphoria. They're so used to rejection that it becomes an automatic response. It becomes physiological. And they end up living with it day by day. All that starts to add up over time so that when they go about the world, they're very hyper vigilant, hyper fearful that they're going to make some sort of mistake, they're going to let somebody down. What I do to help people who have neurodivergence is, of course, provide them with the psychoeducation that their brain happens to be wired differently from what is neurotypical, and their own brain, just like other people with neurodivergence, has its own strengths and weaknesses. And it's certainly beneficial to provide such psychoeducation, but it has its limitations. And this is because people who have neurodivergence have rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Over so long in their life, they have felt that they're underperforming. They felt like they have disappointed others. They've internalized the negative concept that others have given them. That has been happening so long that even with the psychoeducation, they can't help but be down and out about themselves. And when that happens, I know it's important to approach this from a creative angle rather than simply use psychoeducation in itself. And what I do is that I have them imagine that they live on a planet that is full of people who are neurodivergent, just like them, in a way that they are. Maybe it's a planet full of people who have autism, or a planet full of people who have ADHD or some other form of neurodivergence. And the world is built, this world is built for people like them. Wow, how comfortable would that be? I'm trying to imagine myself, if I lived in that kind of planet where people could fully understand the way I see things, right? They get the way I see things. How comfortable would that planet be? And then what I ask my clients to do is to imagine that there is a person who is born on this neurodivergent planet who is different from everybody else there. This person would be considered neurotypical and normal on this planet, on planet Earth. But on this alternate planet with neurodivergent people, this person is a pariah. And growing up, this person has to struggle a lot to really try to fit in. And even though that person certainly has strengths that are different from everybody else in the planet, they still grow up having a really bad and negative self-concept of themselves because day in and day out, they struggle to fit in and be like everybody else. They really hate themselves for not having the strengths of a neurodivergent person. And then what I do in front of the client is that I start to advocate against this person who is different from everybody else on this neurodivergent planet. I say, this person should be doing better, should keep up with everybody else on the planet. This person is broken. And what happens is that my clients will spring to this person's defense and say that they don't deserve that kind of negative treatment at all. And the reason why they're able to spring to that person's defense is because they could fully empathize with that person. They have compassion for that person. Often, if we're so used to not having compassion for ourselves, it's really hard to treat ourselves with kindness. But it's easier to do it for somebody else. They can also put themselves into that person's shoes because their own experience is that they grew up different from everybody else. My clients grew up different from everybody else as someone who's neurodivergent and they had a hard time. So they can empathize with this person on this hypothetical planet who would otherwise be normal on our planet. So when my clients argue against me, that's when they're able to start to break out of the perspective that they have of having low self-esteem and self-concept that they have built up over time through social conditioning. If you're on a planet where everyone is just like you, you're gonna feel comfortable, and the things that you do day to day would go a lot more easily. So people who are neurotypical on this planet, they tend to have an easier time. There's things that they do day to day where they don't really have to think twice about, but for us, we fret about and causes us anxiety as neurodivergent people. So I think it's important to have self-compassion and self-understanding because that will go a long way. If you have a basis of self-compassion, I find that it's easier to make improvements, to bring out your strengths, but also to work on your weaknesses. If you don't have that self-compassion and you're down and out on yourself, we might think that's going to help us to improve, but that's going to drain us of a lot of energy. So people who are trapped in this cycle of self-shame, it could be hard to make improvements. But it's not the end of the world because I believe that self-compassion can be cultivated. If you want to seek help, you're welcome to reach out to me. And if you like this video, please click like and subscribe. It'll help out this channel. Thank you so much for watching.